I often use Gemini to assist whenever I'm coding. And so I've gone through and I've actually asked a few questions here already. The first question is, I'd like to ask a series of questions about the Google Apps script. It says, of course, I'm ready for your questions. I said, do you need me to add the script? It said, yes, please do that. And so I actually took the script and copied it and just pasted it right in. And once I did that, I can click on this little pull down here to see what Gemini did in terms of showing the thinking, right? So it first reviewed the script and it tells me that it's doing that. And then it's decomposing the script functions. It's understanding the functionality of the script. It's clarifying the script actions. And then it provides this answer to me and it shows me how the script works and explains each of the different features of the script. And in fact, it also says, hey, you have some placeholder IDs in there. You need to put the actual ID, right? So it tells me on line 21 that I need to go into the script and find the ID for the folder and add the template ID. And then I need to add the folder ID. So here is the line of code that it's speaking to in terms of that line 21 and line 22 here. It needs to find that as well. And then when you look in the PDF function, there's also a space way down in line 115 to put in the document ID here. And so it goes through and it explains that. And then I can actually ask more specific questions. So I actually said, what does the variable constant, const, email sent column index equals head dot index of parentheses single quote email sent +1. And I can show the thinking there, and it tells me that it's deciphering the code, it's clarifying the code functionality and deconstructing the line, and then clarifying the code functionality, and then explaining the why of it here. So it tells me exactly how that one line works. And I read it and I understood that it was pointing to email sent in the third column, which isn't really what my spreadsheet says. So what I did was I actually went in and put in the column headers, just copied the column headers, pasted them in, and it actually clarified what the answer was. So it actually gave me more information about what was going on in the column, in the spreadsheet, and how the code actually matched up with what was going on in the spreadsheet. And then I said, hey, I have an assistant that is keeping track that emails were sent out properly. Can I add their email address to the email PDFs function so they get a copy of the email? And so it first understood my question and it determined that I want to integrate a CCC recipient, right? And I didn't even need to say, where would I add a CCC recipient, right? A carbon copy recipient. And it said that it's a straightforward request. It knew where to integrate it, and it was telling me how to do that, right? And so what it did was it said, here's what your original code looks like. Here's what your updated code looks like. And you'll notice that I don't have a CC header in here. So it adds the CC header, and I can just go in, find that within my email PDFs, right, and add that in my code directly. Sometimes you'll get a lot of changes and you're not exactly sure where the change needs to go. So you can ask Gemini can you add this to the script and include the entire script in your output. And then what it'll do is it'll give me the entire script. And when I look at the email PDFs and I look at that part of the code where the mail app is being employed, it actually added that line of code in there now. So I could just copy the entire code and just paste it over, and I can just click on the copy code option here to copy the code to my clipboard. And then I had more specific questions. I was like, I'm really curious about why they're using parentheses and the curly brackets here, and I'm not sure what the double slash does, and I would also like to know what the semicolon does in this line of code. So I actually said, hey, can you explain what those things mean and what the syntax does there? And it went through and it gave me specific examples of what that code was, and then it actually explained it more fully, and it went through my entire code and started to explain it more in depth and give me examples of what I was looking for. And so I could go through and read that information, and then I was like, I'm really curious about, like, why is there this header, comma, dot, dot, dot data? Like, what is that about? Can you explain that? And then it gave me some really specific information about the JavaScript and saying that this is, when you see this, it's really called an array destructuring. And it combines it with the dot, 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 which is a REST parameter. So it explains what the array destructuring does, and then it explains the REST parameter. And it gives me examples of those and why it's being used. So it's really a good way for me to dig deeper into the code to understand it more, because I'm not a programmer, but I'm learning to utilize JavaScript in my Google Apps script. So I really want Gemini to help explain all of the pieces to me like I'm a kindergarten student. So those are some of the ways in which I use Gemini to assist during the coding process.